Hello entrepreneurs, welcome to NOBOSS TV Discussion 8. Let's get started. In the last discussion, you vetted suppliers for your direct expenses. In this discussion, we're going to focus specifically on the manufacturing of your product and how you can reduce cost and increase profits. If you're reselling merchandise, go ahead and skip to discussion 9. If you're in the services business, go ahead and skip to discussion 10. Now, I don't know exactly what you're manufacturing in your business, so I'm going to use the example of baking a cake, just because I think it's universally understood and the best example to apply to these discussions. So let's get into it. Using your manufacturing worksheet, the first tab is the product legend, and in this worksheet, it will show you all the products you plan to build and sell. In addition, it should give you ideas about offering variances to the products you're building. So let's say you make handmade wine racks, and they all hold 6 bottles of wine. You might consider the same style wine rack that holds 24 bottles. Ultimately, you may decide to offer all of your handmade wine racks in at least 2 sizes. Product information will transfer over to the other tabs as well. So when you click over to the Components tab, this worksheet will help you extend your information to determine the suppliers, the cost, but most importantly, the quantity of components you need to build each of your products. You may want to think about the process of building your products. It helps me. But this will help you to ensure that you don't miss any components needed. But again, most importantly, you want the components and the quantities needed for each item you're building. Cost of Goods tab. This worksheet breaks down the cost of each of your components needed to build your product. As a general overview, I want to make sure that you correctly break down the purchases from suppliers to ensure that you're correctly determining costs. Now, for example, when you're baking a cake, you need flour, sugar, and eggs, right? But you're not using all the ingredients. You'd have one gigantic cake. You're using a portion of the ingredients that you purchased. 3 cups of flour, 3 cups of sugar, 3 eggs, not the entire dozen. You see where I'm going with this? So when you buy your components, you're likely buying more than you need to build your item. The screws, nuts and bolts, buttons for clothing, wood for carving. You're buying this stuff the way it's sold, but you're only using portions of it for each item that you're building to sell. Your job is to determine how much you need and what it costs. So let's break that down. You buy a 5-pound bag of flour, costs you $3. But I can make 4 cakes out of that 5-pound bag. So it's really costing me 75 cents per cake. The same with the sugar and the same with the eggs. Now the milk is $3, but I can make 6 cakes out of that. And that means it costs me 50 cents per cake. And the same with the butter, the pineapples, and the cherries. So the total cost to make this homemade pineapple upside down cake is $6. When it comes to labor, you want to identify the rate of pay that you would pay someone to do the labor or the rate that you would pay yourself. Now, here's the tricky part. We're all starting a business to make money, right? But if you include your $1 million an hour rate in the cost, you're likely going to overprice yourself right out of the market. I want you to use the rate that you would pay an employee, or just be reasonable. And here's why. Once your business grows, you're actually hiring employees, 1, you're still in the same profit margin. And 2, your salary as the CEO is coming from the profits of the business. Let's show the baker's wage at $10 per hour and add in the cost for packaging and any carry-out packaging. Now, here is the mistake that new entrepreneurs sometimes make. If you take out the $10 for labor, you'll get $7.75 to bake this cake. The new entrepreneur may sell this cake at double the price, $15.50. And that seems like a good, cheap selling price. However, as you can see, there's not enough profit to even pay yourself or the hired baker to make the cake. Now, there are exceptions to the rule, but it's usually for high-ticket items that will allow you to include inflated fees for yourself. So you be the judge as to whether your business is a high-ticket business. However, for us regular folk, I want you to see going forward that you need to include all real costs so that you can make real money. Complete the direct expenses cost for each of the items you plan to manufacture and sell in your business, and then go ahead and include any supplies and other costs. Other costs could also be outsourcing. Don't forget about that. Outsourcing happens when you build a product up to a certain point and then use another business to do something to it. They give it back to you and you finish it up and sell it. And I'll use this example. Let's say you create handcrafted wood plaques. You carve and create them, but you give it to another business to varnish them or encase them in glass or drill housing for them to be hung on a wall. This too is part of your direct cost and should be included in the price you're selling the item for. All of this is needed to finish the product. Once this is done, you've got a product to sell. Now that you know the real cost, and in this case, to bake this cake is $17.75, use that number as your marker. That's your cost. When you run a sale, offer wholesale pricing, commissions, you cannot go below this number. This is your cost. Now, if you scroll over to the total costs tab, it will summarize components, labor, supplies for you, and it will also give you a total cost for each of your products. It's been happening in the background as you were completing the information on the other worksheets. Next, you need to determine your opening stock quantity. So, if you plan to start your business and be able to make 10 different cakes, you will need enough ingredients to make 10 cakes. If possible, keep your variations small or similar so that they're not vastly different, because you don't want to have to start buying vastly different components to start your business, because right now you're not 100% sure of which ones will sell. So establish a setup of the products that you want to start your business with, but make sure they're similar enough in components, yet they offer a variance to your customer. You'll need this information and to determine your startup budget and cover your direct expenses. This concludes discussion 8, and I look forward to talking to you in the next video.